All right. Welcome to the Here for the Talk podcast. I'm with my co-host John Mateo.
Yes, sir.
I'm Darwin Hurtado, and we're here to, talk some hoops with y'all. Hope y'all enjoy. So, hey man, we have to start off with Team USA.
Now look. I'm gonna keep it a
Oh,
stack with you. I have not been, keeping up with Team USA
okay.
only because I've been busy with work.
Mm,
But I have been like looking here and there.
okay.
So, you know,
So in
I
the
got
few
the
times
kids
that you
when I
feel
do.
that you got the chance to tune in, you know what I mean? Maybe like you've heard some news, maybe you've been tuned in like, I don't know, on Twitter, IG, I don't know. Um, But for me, I've been pretty tuned in. Obviously you heard obviously Jason Tatum got benched last
Yeah,
game.
he's not been playing it for
Didn't
real.
play a single minute. This is crazy. He's a champion. No respect, no love, none of that.
Yeah, a champion, but wasn't final MVP.
Yeah, it was very debatable who could have walked away with it. If you were watching the series like I was, because that's my favorite player, um, it was pretty close. Don't get me wrong, but give respect to Jalen Brown. He played great. He played great all year around. And yeah, bro, the Celtics took it home. But let's just be real. Team USA is just it's like the roster. I love it. Don't get me wrong. Like all the big names are there.
mm,
All the players that we want to see are there.
mm.
But we got some red flags. Ready? We got Joel Embiid. He can't play more than 3 minutes without fouling out. And I know that he didn't go all season talking about like, oh, I'm getting ready for Team USA to go out and do that. And for me, it's just like I'm looking as a fan, like, dude, what are you doing? Like, this is your chance to really like show out in front of the world. You know what I mean? There's
Okay.
people that don't even agree with the fact that you're representing like the USA. Like people over here, like, oh, you're not even American, like this, that, and the third, like going, like you know what I mean? Just going off and shit.
hmm
But like Embiid, we know who he is. He's a scoring machine. He's probably the second best big. I think it's Jokic. You know what I mean?
It's very debatable. Actually, I'm not gonna. And sorry to
Now,
cut you off. It's
of
low key
course.
debatable that he might be the best player in the NBA when
Hey,
healthy. The
definitely,
best when healthy, the best player.
definitely. Especially like off of last season. Like I remember last season he was dropping like 70 points, 60, 50 point games. And he was really like, like unleashing himself. Like, you know what I mean? Like we know who Joel Embiid is,
Well, at
but
least I know.
especially after like the season that like Jokic put on like the year before last year. You know what I mean? And
No.
it's just like for me, I still put Jokic there. You know what I mean? Not to get off topic or anything, but I still put Jokic number one because like I feel like he's still like he doesn't really get injured. And don't get me wrong, he's not the biggest like defensive force down low and stuff, but Jokic brings so much, more right now to the game. And I feel like Embiid is a more profound like scorer. Like, you know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
he's like kind of just perfected that skill. And don't get me wrong, like it's working for him. He just has to stay on the court and honestly, like who knows what that team can do. But
I mean, really, I'm not gonna lie to you. The supporting cast that Joel Embiid has is
okay.
not comparable to Jokic. Like, let's keep it a stack. Tobias piece of shit Harris. Like, that's been his nickname for me for like the longest.
Okay.
Brother man played how many minutes and dropped a donut.
Hey man. Hey,
And look, and then recently his best teammate
okay.
just became like an all-star caliber player.
So you're talking about Tyrese Maxey, correct?
Mm-hmm. Now I
And I feel
love
like,
Tyrese Maxey,
of course, I'm a fan of Tyrese
but
Maxey,
Tyrese Maxey is not Jamal Murray.
definitely. But let's just be fair, like Maxey could definitely push himself to that level. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
He
Mm-hmm.
has like the youth under him to a point where he's like one of those stars that I look at that come in like a little bit more polished than other players. Especially like coming out of Kentucky, where it's
I,
just like it's a bunch of point guards that come out of there. And for him to come out and he wasn't even like one of like the main like focal points when he first got to the Sixers. Like I just saw an interview the other day, or actually yesterday, of him on Podcast P, and he was telling Paul George like, hey, like coming out of college, I wasn't this big name point guard that was just gonna get the spot. Like I was over here, fighting for mentor Shake Milton, and now no shot at Shake Milton, you know what I mean? But like Shake Milton is not what Tyrese Maxey is. So like, some
Mhm.
things just work out for the better. But to get back to the point of Tobias Harris, and to be fair, as a basketball fan, you look at him and you just appreciate the fact that, don't get me wrong, like Tobias Harris isn't the biggest name. He doesn't perform the biggest, like when it,
What he used to do
okay.
is not what he's doing currently. I just like
Yes, that's definitely for sure. But also, I feel like sometimes it's just like the role that you're in, and it's just like you'll look at like a Tobias Harris, and you'll look at Kelly Oubre from last year. Kelly Oubre, you just see that he just fit that role more than him. And then obviously, come playoff time, we saw like Oubre was damn near playing better than Tobias. Tobias was the damn near no show against the Knicks. You know what I mean? So like and then it's like I'm kind of happy that what I mean. He ended up going to Detroit because it's like, don't get me wrong, he's not gonna go to Detroit and just make them better. Like you know what I mean. But he's a
mm,
vet that he's gonna go over there, and obviously he's gonna play with a young point guard like Cade Cunningham, and he's gonna obviously like be a vet. You know what I mean. And Tobias Harris to me has never been that player that's gonna like take us over the top. But Tobias Harris is definitely one of those like he could be like the fourth option like on a championship team. You know what I mean? And
that's what I felt for the
that
longest time until like the production he's been giving out is just like it's basically like
baffling. You're like,
coming off
what
the
is going
benches.
on? You're like, what's going on? Like, don't get me wrong.
Like,
Like, he had years, like, obviously, when he was on the Clippers, you know what I mean? And he was getting buckets, you know what I mean? And, like, obviously, for some players, that's just how it is. Like, they just get put in this role where, like, they feel like, oh, I have to play this way or I'm out of the league. You know what I mean? And, like, don't
hmm
get me wrong. I don't think he's one of those players that he's just out of the league or whatever. But don't get me wrong. I'm just glad that Philly finally moved on from that because for a bunch of years, especially after like, you know what I mean? Like Tobias Harris over me, like Jimmy Butler and shit, like all that
yes, no,
controversy all
literally.
these years. And it's just like you finally got that like dark cloud away from you guys. And then you obviously bringing in Paul George. Now that
Okay,
we're talking about
now,
Paul George, this is just the next question. How do you feel about the big three getting together in Philly?
okay, because I don't want to spend too much time on this topic because we
Of
still got to go
course,
back to everybody else on the
of
USA
course.
team, right?
Yes, sir.
Like I said before, now James Harden is my favorite player, right? James Harden wasn't playing like James Harden,
Mm-hmm.
like, but like obviously you get older, you lose your. He lost his quick first step, kind of.
Yeah.
Um, but he was still that facilitator that that they needed, and here and there he would like go off, like the
Of
score
course.
that he was before.
Yep.
Um, was a little bit of a mentor for Tyrese Maxey, and could showed a little bit of I want to say leadership
Of course.
for Joel Embiid, all those good things that he can bring to a good team. But besides like having James Harden,
Of course.
like like I said before, Joel Embiid's like supporting cast could not be compared to Jokic's team. But now that Tyrese Maxey is like on the rise, like he's a focal point of the offense. Well, he's been one, but like now it's like undeniable.
Yes.
And now you're bringing in, you know, Paul George.
Yeah.
Like, come on now. Like now, I wanna say this. I wanna say this season,
Mhm.
if and it's a big if, and I hate all those what ifs, because like it's either you do or you don't,
Yeah.
right?
Literally. It's literally it's like you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. Like
Yeah,
literally it's like you can go to a team and you can go in with so much like it's
like
pressure,
hype.
but it's also like there's exactly hype. Like, you know what I mean? And then it's just like we start to get to like the all-star break and we start to kind of see like, all right, like this is what it's gonna look like if you guys are healthy. Like I know some people don't like, like look at the regular season and they're just like, oh, like this is everything. You know what I mean? Because I'm not gonna lie, in playoff basketball compared to the regular season is very different.
Very different.
Whistle gets really, really tight. The refs, they might not even call some fouls. And bro, like sometimes like you're just in that position where it's just like you just gotta wait till the playoffs to really see. Like, for
Mm-hmm.
example, like look at the Celtics. like all year long. They were a 65 plus win team. This is like one of the best records of all time, like in a regular season. But everybody the whole year was just like, hey, we gotta wait till the playoffs. Hey, Jason Tatum's gonna fold in the playoffs.
I
Hey,
mean,
what is Jalen Brown gonna do? You know what I mean? And it was just like a lot. And it's just like, you know what I mean? Like sometimes you just get to that point where like you just have to prove yourself. And then that's what I feel like Paul George is in that like, you know what I mean? Like we've seen like so much
yeah,
of Paul George. We saw young Paul George.
like what he's capable of.
Yeah, like
But it's
we
just
feel
like
like I've seen
push
like
come
Paul
to
George at his
shove, he hasn't like been that.
yeah. You know, and it's just like Paul George has always been on like a star level, you know what I mean? Like just there and stuff. But like he's never done anything that, it's like kind of like put him over the top of all the other
Mhm.
players that, like other players in his position, like you know what I mean? And don't get me wrong, like Paul George has been around. He's 34, 35. You know what I mean? This is at the point where it's just like he's trying to, you know what I mean? He's just trying to give it
Mhm.
all he got. And
No,
I love
literally.
it for him because I know if I was in Paul George's shoes and I'm going to a whole new fan base, I'm going back to the East.
You
Like
playing
I'm
with
gonna
a
be
dominant center,
a
like
dominant center,
when had
a young rising all-star point guard. You know what I mean? And it's not
Mhm.
even one of those like, oh, he might, he's just a point guard, all-star just for 1 year. Like I see him making it multiple years. Like, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like I just see constant growth. You know what I mean? And what I love so much about the Paul George moves, even though like I made a list of like the pros and cons and stuff, and we could definitely get into that. But it's just like I love that it feels like they're all getting together at the right time. And I feel like,
I wouldn't say it's the right time because Paul George is getting old.
yeah, but
So
also you have to think about it. Like compared to his situation that he was in with the Clippers, where it's just like, hey, like on paper, like, every year we're gonna always have that team that if everything goes right, we can make it far. You know what I mean? And
and
he's obviously been playing with Kawhi. You know what I mean? And obviously, Kawhi himself, like all season long, like for the past few seasons, it's just been on and off, on and off. At least when he goes to Philly, he's not gonna be on a team that's on and off, on and off. He's gonna go to a coach and Nick Nurse that already has a system like in place for the team, and he's going to a team that already has an identity. You know what I mean? And also, like, don't get me wrong, like you look at the Clippers, and it's just like even in their own city, like you know what I mean? They're like the B team. Like Paul George
yep.
said himself on his podcast, like they're like the B. It feels like they're the B team, like literally, and that's
Hmm.
what it was. They were sharing the same building. Don't get me wrong, like next year they're gonna open up like a new arena and stuff like that, and that's dope. You know what I mean? But Paul George clearly doesn't need that. I'm glad that Paul George kind of just made the most out of the situation that he's in. Because you know
Hmm.
what I mean? A lot of players like go to other teams and fold. You know what I mean? And I don't feel like he's gonna go and fold. I feel like he's gonna come and bring, like a consistent scoring option. I one thing I did mention earlier, but I did notice like in the Sixers Knicks series was they were scoring, but sometimes it just looked like ugly scoring. Like it wasn't
Yeah.
like, like let me give him the ball, like he's gonna cook. Like, it was just like a lot like, hey, let's hit Embiid down in the post, wait till the double team to come, kick out to open shooters. You know what I mean? And that is the right basketball to play. But it's just like you just saw that they were it was just Maxi and Embiid out there, and it's
I
just
mean,
everybody else made a shot, they made a shot.
to be fair to the Sixers,
Okay.
Joel Embiid was dealing with, a lot
Yeah.
of like medical
He had
issues.
an eye
You know,
issue. He had his knees. It was
hmm
bad. And
and
to be
and
fair,
for the and for that to even be going on, right? He had like a knee, like you said, a knee issue,
yeah,
an eye issue,
yeah.
and still, like
Dominating.
I
Say
don't want
I'm
to
a
give
Knicks
your
fan. I'm a
Knicks,
Knicks
I
fan,
don't
bro.
want to give your Knicks,
Hey, dominate. Like he was
the
dominant.
props, but they still they win a couple of games.
Yeah.
I want to say that if he was healthy, y'all wasn't making it out. But
Hey man.
finish this off real quick to finish
Hey
because we
man.
can talk about this
I'm
a
not.
different day.
Hey, we won, man. A win is a win.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like nah.
Uh,
Like
to
literally,
finish it
that's it.
off, right? I feel like this season coming up, when healthy, both teams,
Yes.
I like, and I've always liked Philly, but I like Philly over Denver. I like, I'm gonna be definitely tuning in to watch Denver versus Philly way more just to see like basically the clash of the bigs
Of
and
course.
the supporting cast because Michael never Smith the Rock Jr. I mean not Junior Porter Jr. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like he's a bucket,
A
but he's
bucket.
not Paul George.
That's true. That's
And
definitely
then
true.
Paul George doesn't only bring scoring; he got two way.
Definitely. I'm gonna get into that.
And then
Defensive versatility.
mm-hmm.
He's a
and then
he's literally your well age wise like obviously if you don't take like age into account and stuff like that he's like it's literally the perfect point guard at the moment, the perfect wing at the moment, and then the perfect big at the moment. You know what
if
I
I'm not
mean?
mistaken, who picked up Andre Drummond this
They
offseason?
did. They did. The
Right? Yeah,
Sixers.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
they brought him back.
mm,
They brought him
so
back.
now Andre Drummond wasn't what he was before, but like
Yeah, that's
I
true.
feel like given like the right situation, he can be an amazing player for a team.
He could definitely exactly. He could fit them. He could literally Andre Drummond just last season. Don't
Like
get me
like
wrong. I'm not saying he's gonna be spotting up and stuff like that. But like on Chicago, like you know what I mean. He was taking it out there, taking some shots. You know what I mean? It's
so
confidence.
like I
It's
mean
confidence. You know what I mean?
like Joel Embiid and Andre Drummond take turns playing defense on Jokic. Like
Exactly. A lot of
now,
bodies to throw at him. Definitely, those are good bodies to
exactly.
throw at him. Don't get me wrong.
I like Philly's chances against Denver. How about you? Just to finish
For
this off.
me, for me, here's the thing. I'll definitely say going into the next season, I'm definitely gonna be locking in on both teams. I'm still gonna take the Nuggets because I feel like the Nuggets still have a better like identity and better like how do I say it like they just know what their goal is. You know what I
But
mean? And sometimes I feel like with the Sixers, like also like just in their own fan base and just like their front office moves sometimes, like they might just be too stagnant and might not like make a move to like, make the team better. Don't get me wrong, I'm giving them all credit because I feel like this offseason they've worked good enough to like, build a nice squad. But if you
good
still look
enough. I'm pretty sure they made the best move possible.
for
That
sure,
you know,
but we gotta talk about
whereas
also like
Denver
the
didn't
Nuggets
really
being
make
a
any
team.
moves off season.
Okay.
Denver didn't make any big moves.
But two, also like, you know what I mean? You might look at that and just be like, hey, they didn't make any moves. But sometimes, like, you know what I mean? Like sometimes if they just believe in what they have and like their youth, and I believe in that because even last season, like they did end up losing to the Timberwolves. But that went, you know what I mean? That was game 7. Like that was like a toss up. They could have very much been probably in the finals with the Celtics. You know what I mean? And I just feel like Jokic and Jamal Murray have like they have that chemistry down. But on top of that, they have this. They just like Jokic himself. Yes, he makes his own teammates better and stuff. But like it's the same thing for Jamal Murray. You know what I mean? Like when he's out there, he's making his teammates better. He's hitting the knockdown shots. Like you know what I mean? And you know what I mean? They know how to move the ball. Like look at Michael Porter Jr. Like you know what I mean? We just said like Paul George is a better scorer than him, but like Michael Porter Jr. He could still put the ball in the basket. At the end of the day, like yes, he's had like multiple back injuries and you know what I mean? Like that shit like sets you back. You know what I mean? But like he's a champion, like, respectfully. He put in
Mm-hmm.
work for that title. And then it's just like when you win that, like when you have that just that championship like energy or like that experience, and maybe take it back to the 22 finals when it was the Celtics versus the Warriors, that kind of just you just saw that like the Warriors' talent and their experience like kind of like overcame the Celtics and kind of like broke them down. Don't get me wrong, Steph Curry went off. Like he went off. But like also it's just like, you know what I mean? It's like that experience like really, really helped, and that's why I will take the Nuggets still over the Sixers. But don't get me wrong, there's definitely a world where they could play out of their minds next year. You know what I mean? And one thing about Philly is yes, they made the moves, but when you talk about the East, they're still talking about the Celtics, the Knicks, maybe even the Bucks. You know what I mean? So they're kind of like, underlooking kind of like the moves and stuff, but we have to see it like kind of just play out. But given the fact, like the Nuggets, they've pretty much proved it, you know what I mean? And their title is pretty recent. Don't get me wrong, they played Miami, but like they just look dominant in their whole playoff run. And you got to look at Philly and you got to look at like the fact that Embiid has never been to an Eastern Conference Finals. You know what I mean? And it's just like you look at Team USA like we were talking earlier, but it's just like You know what I mean? Like there's a bunch of players that made the ECF, made the finals and stuff, and he hasn't even sniffed that. You feel me? And hey, I'm not gonna put it like against like Paul George. Like I think he could, you know what I mean? He could put in work. You know what I mean? But they're definitely a good team in the East. But the Nuggets, man, I don't know, man. They in the West, looking good and stuff. So I'm gonna take the Nuggets for
Ah,
sure.
that's fine. That's fine.
So
Um, so back to Team USA.
yes,
You know, you said earlier there's a bunch of names that you want that everybody wants to see
yeah,
on the team,
that's true.
but to me there really isn't. Like when it comes to USA like overseas basketball, like or Olympic basketball actually, I mean.
Yep.
You need people who are scoring options or just like star caliber players who, when push comes to shove, they know how to fit their role. Like, I would much rather have Kyrie over a lot of names in
On Team USA.
Team USA right now.
Okay,
Paul George,
I agree.
why George not in? Um,
Jalen Brown.
Jaylen Brown, the final MVP.
Yes, sir.
Why is Derek White in there and not Jaylen Brown? You know,
That's true.
you know, it's a lot of things besides basketball that's going on with Team
Yeah.
USA. You know,
Yeah.
little political bullshit that's going on.
It's like hard to like really figure out like the criteria. Like yo, like how do you get into Team USA? Is it just like we're picking like names out of a hat and shit? Like that's what it feels like. You know what
And,
I mean? And,
yo, another name who, I mean, right now, he's been on like John Morant, like,
yeah, man. I mean, to be fair, like I'm gonna just put on like
like the
just
scandals that he been
just
going, like, yeah,
thinking.
I understand,
Just
but
thinking,
like,
it probably just doesn't look the best like right now. But like, next Olympics and stuff, like he should be valid. Like, you know what I mean? Like at that point, it's just like that's just when the new wave of like Team USA is gonna come out. Because
like
I don't think LeBron played another one. I don't think he
he's not
played
gonna play.
another
He's
one.
not playing another. But think about it though. Like a duo of Anthony Edwards and John Morant.
Yeah, that shit would cook, to be fair.
Like not only would that like ultimate hoops, like
Mhm.
that's prime time hoops. One,
Yeah.
two, two young guards who are extremely athletic and like very vocal and
Yeah.
have like a swagger to them.
Yeah, they show emotion too. You know what I mean? And
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 you
exactly what
the
you just said, the
USA,
swagger. They bring that swagger. They bring
USA
that,
is they're
you
all
know?
about like having that swagger to them. Like
Yeah.
when you everywhere, not everywhere you go, but like majority of the places that you go in USA, a lot of people like having a certain image to them,
Yeah.
and like you
Literally.
know,
Literally. Like I literally like obviously we could use like LeBron and stuff like that, but like you look at LeBron and like every time he's out there, it's like he's showing emotion. He's showing
like
that like
Captain
he's
America.
still like dominating this shit. Like you know what I mean? And like obviously in your favorite players and stuff like that, you want to see that. Like my favorite player is Jason Tatum. He just won a championship, and I still feel he should have been even more emotional. I feel like he cares. You know what I mean? What other people say. You know what I mean?
We
And
did it.
like it like you know what I mean? And that kind of like bothers me as a fan because it's like obviously like when I watch Jason Tatum and I lock in on Jason Tatum, it's just like, you know what I mean? This is my favorite player and he be, making his buckets and he be going off and shit like that. And I feel like he should be more of like, yo, I'm here. You know what I mean? Like I feel like if he was more I'm here, like, yo, like I'm here, he wouldn't be dealing with none of that, like playing 0 minutes and shit like that. You know what I mean? And again, I don't know all the like the behind the scenes shit, but like there's like Spo's a coach there that he's on the bench. Steve Kerr, these are championship coaches. So it's just like for you to just be playing Derek White, a lineup of Devin Booker, Drew Holiday, and Derek White in the same lineup. And it's just like, why you got to do that to yourself? You know what I mean? But again, I don't know everything. But again, as a fan of Jason Tatum and shit, like I just need him to be more of that, like next year, like I need him to come out and be like, "Yo, I just won a championship last year. Don't forget that shit." Like I just won a championship last year, and I feel like I should have been the Finals MVP. You know what I mean? And
Hmm.
don't get me wrong, it's just like every year you're supposed to go in with the mentality that
You
you're gonna win.
speaking of
But
that, you think like you think it's on the same level as Stephen Curry never winning Finals MVP up until his last championship?
I mean, Jason Tatum, you gotta look at it. You're like Jason Tatum's like still young as hell. Like, you know what I mean? And
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Jason Tatum still has like so much like time that he could still like kind of like he might not need to put up a performance like Steph Curry. Because I don't want to say Steph Curry carried the Warriors, but you just saw that Steph Curry was really just like dominating more than everybody else. You know what I mean? And I feel like Jason Tatum can have a series like that. You know what I mean? This series with the Mavs, like I felt like he played perfect. You know what I mean? Like, yes, he could have scored more, but like that's not what the team needed. You know what I mean? And like the Celtics were just like 1 through 5. Like I saw this team live last year. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm seeing this team, like this is a championship team, like literally. And it's just like 1 through 5, and then literally their bench, like, they were so like, in sync, they were so locked
Hmm.
in that it's just like it's not a one-man army. It's not just Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown against the rest. Like, bro, like they were dead
You
as
have.
like a team, you know what I mean? And
Mhm.
like they had so many like different options. Like look at Kristaps. Like he was literally injured all the way up until the first game of the finals, bro. And he's over here like he came out blazing hot. But why? Because that team instilled that confidence in him that he can come back from all the injuries and all the scrutiny that he was getting on the Mavs, on the Knicks even and shit. Even though he had one of his best seasons on the Knicks, you know what I mean, until he got hurt. But it's just like you got to look at that, and you got to look at players like Drew Holiday. That yes, we knew he was going to make an impact, but we really thought he was just going to make an impact, kind of just on the defensive end
You mean
and
like
stuff like that. Like, you know what I mean? And it's like you look at that sometimes and you're just like, it's easy to take that for granted, but it's like you got to look at like these teams that are really great in the league. They don't just have one option to go to. And I feel like a lot of like the narratives like push towards like Jason Tatum is just like it's all on him. And it's not all on him. Like, you know what I mean? And he makes it clear. Like, trust me, bro. Like, you know what I mean? Like, obviously, you're not everybody else, but I know if you tune in to Jason Tatum, like, he will tell you yourself, bro. Like, like, this is not just me. Like, we're the Celtics. But again, bro, like,
but I mean like
Jason Tatum can easily, I feel like he still has the time that, you know what I mean? Like, we don't know if he's going to be on the Celtics his whole life. You know what I mean? He might go to another team and pull up a
I
stellar season, like a
I don't
stellar
see him
season.
leaving anytime soon, honestly.
Definitely not. He just got
And
paid. He just got
listen,
paid. He has the highest
I don't.
contract in the league right now.
And what you just said about him saying like basically feeling like we're the Celtics. I feel like I don't know if you've seen an interview with like D Wade where
Hold on, let me
when
plug in my
Braun
charger.
first
Keep
went,
talking.
like when Braun first went to Miami, you know, and like when they lost that first year, Wade had to like basically tell LeBron like yo, like
Take
you're
over. Take
LeBron
over.
James.
This is your team. You hear
Like
him. You hear him.
this is you. Like you show them that
Yeah.
you're the best player in the league. Like don't take a
Facts.
back seat. Like come on, like this you
Don't.
gotta take us there. Right.
That
So
facts.
you saying that, Jason Tatum is feeling like, oh, we're the Celtics. No, I feel like he has to do like like if I'm Jaylen Brown, I just won Finals MVP. I'm as good as Tatum in my head. If I'm Jaylen Brown, I'm as good as Tatum, maybe better because, like I said, you know.
Can I
So
ask you something? Can I ask you something?
go ahead.
Even before all this final stuff, or even before, let's say, like, even the playoffs, don't you think that Jaylen Brown like already kind of has an idea that like if I had my own team, I could do the same thing, if not like more than Jason Tatum? Because I feel like some players, although they are the second best player on some teams, they might still see like, yo, I could do better. You know what I mean? On my own. You feel me? And I'm definitely not a fan of ever breaking up the Jays just because like, you know what I mean? That chemistry doesn't come around often. Let's be real. Like, you know what I mean? They've got as a duo, they've got to hate it on like a lot. Like, you know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? And again, like it took them a while to like, get it done, obviously hang up that banner and shit. But like it's kind of like the same thing for playing like for the team like the Lakers and shit. Like every season, like no matter how good your roster is, you gotta bring it. Like, you know what I mean? And again, like the Celtics are a team that like you could just stamp them to the playoffs every year. You know what I mean? And again, it's like I was telling you, this year really showed it that it's just like when you have so many guys that are all on the like same page and they all want the same thing, like you don't need to be that superstar, like you know what I mean, or you don't need to have this like selfish like look at it like yo, I gotta be the one doing everything. You know what I mean? And I love I love what Jason Tatum just did. Like, you know what I mean? He literally
That that's
I don't
debatable
want to
because
say he let. I don't want to say he let because don't get me wrong, like Jason Tatum was just playmaking, rebounding, and obviously scoring. You know what I mean? But like he gave Jaylen Brown the opportunity to just really like show like who
I
like
don't
his
know. I
worth.
don't know if it was that he gave the
He didn't
opportunity
give it to him. He didn't give it
Or
to him.
Jalen took the opportunity. Like
Not definitely. It's like he knew what was in front of him. You know what I mean? They knew like, yo, we're here now. You know what I mean? Like it's just like, yo, it's like championship or bust. You know what I mean? But it's like to go back to what I was saying before, and the point that I'm trying to make here is that you might have number twos like a Paul George. Like Paul George went into this offseason, he's like over here, like, why am I not getting paid the same money as Kawhi? But you look at the production, and it's like it's not, you know, the same amount of production. You know what I mean? So it's like you got to take other things into account. That's just one example. But like with Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, it's just like I feel like their skills are not like overlapping each other. Like I feel like they're right there. Like, you know what I mean? They're doing what they got to do. And they just have to stay together and sky's the limit for the Celtics, bro. Don't get me like I'm a Knicks fan. Like, you know, like I got my Knicks hat on, like on some shit. Like, you know what I mean? Like I want them to beat the Celtics and all that. Like I'm for it. You know what I mean? Like I saw Tatum win his ring. You know what I mean? It can't just be every year. You feel me? But it's like I'm saying, bro. It's just like, yes, Jason Tatum could have played better, you know, scored more, could have been more aggressive. I'm not disagreeing, but don't get me wrong. When you have the team that you had, and it's just like you just want to win a championship, and you really don't give a fuck how it looks. It's just like we literally just saw that in that championship this year, and
I don't know if I
for
want
the Celtics to win that
my best
ring,
player.
and Jason Tatum didn't even have to go like a LeBron tear or none of that. Like they really won that shit, and he literally was just doing everything he had to do. You know what I mean?
I
And
mean,
I get it. I get it that we're in a league where it's just like if you're not scoring and you're not, you know what I mean, like consistently just getting the ball and like doing something with it, it's really easy to overlook you like on the court. But I promise you, bro, if I were to tell you like, yo, go back and look at that finals, you would really see like, you know, he has his own
I
impact.
know he was doing the things that he needed to do. Like when he didn't have it going. I mean, not to well, there were times where he probably didn't have it going right, but like he still made up for it with everything else. You know,
Of course.
defense,
Literally.
rebounding, like keeping the ball moving, like making sure like everybody was getting their touches. Like I understand all that, right?
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, bro, you're Jason Tatum.
All right.
Like the only reason why
Keep talking.
people are
I'm gonna look
clowning
up
you
his
the way that they're
numbers.
clowning you right now is because not too long ago you were looked at as like the guy to possibly like be the face of the league, and now you're not even in that. Well, I wouldn't say you're not in that talk anymore, but somebody overtook you, and that somebody's Anthony Edwards.
Mm-hmm.
And
Wait, because this is where I'm not gonna sit up here and say that, you know what I mean? Like it's definitely a debate, but let's not act like Jason Tatum, like his resume, his playoff resume at that too, it looks really, really nice.
it
Don't get
don't get
me
me wrong, it's
wrong.
not as
No,
good
like
as young as he
Anthony
is,
Edwards is
and all
that
that
guy.
playoff
I'll
success,
be the
all
first one to
that
tell you. I'll be the
playoff
first one to
success he
tell you.
had
Hold
is
on,
real
hold on,
good.
hold on.
But
Anthony Edwards, he showed out. He is the Showtime. Like, he is the Showtime. I can't tell you in 5 years that it's gonna be clear cut that Jason Tatum is better than him. You know what I mean? I can't tell you that because he's younger, and you know what I mean. At the end of the day, it's just like you come in, like the way you come in, and you leave the way you leave. Jason Tatum has been in the league for quite some time now, and Jason Tatum, I know this is his first championship, but like you got to look back at all the other players before him, like when they got their rings. Like LeBron got his rings later on. You know what I mean? But LeBron came in and he was dominant. You know what I mean? And Jason Tatum wasn't LeBron coming in and shit, but Jason Tatum has consistently gotten better. Consistently. You know what I mean? And you just told me scoring more and shit. Jason Tatum's already had a season that he's averaged 30 plus, and still he's not even like they don't even look at him
Well,
as a
it's
top
not that
five
he needs
player.
to score more. It's just, yes, he's been getting better, like consistently. He's getting
He
better,
gets consistently better.
but like
And I feel like Jason Tatum makes his
you,
teammates better as well.
it's more than just scoring. It's a mindset thing. Like I said earlier, he has to
I
have
feel
that
like
flip.
Anthony Edwards
He
is
has to
probably
have that
more
switch
confident than
where
Jason Tatum.
LeBron had that same switch. Like I told you, D Wade told him, "Yo, this is you. You gotta bring it." Like,
Yes.
like a couple of years ago, nobody was looking at Jaylen Brown being better than Jason Tatum, and now it's a debate where they're equal, or maybe Jaylen Brown is a little bit better than Jason Tatum. Where if
To be fair, I haven't heard anybody else say this. It's really just you. I'll be honest. I'm gonna be completely honest with you. Like, yes, there's people that like troll and shit, and they say like, "Oh yeah, like Jaylen Brown like played better than Jason Tatum." Like, you know what I mean? He should have been this. But bro, like, let's be real. When your push comes to shove, like we're taking Jason Tatum. Like, I'm sorry. Like there's no way that just off of one series that Jaylen Brown is just better. Like, you know what I mean? Like, literally, bro, like, if you were watching, literally, when they gave out that finals MVP trophy, nobody knew who was getting it. Drew could have got it. Tatum could have got it. Shit, like, Porzingis could have got it if he would have, you know what I mean, continued being dominant all those games.
but if you're the face of the team, it
Bro,
should like
Steph Curry was the face of that Warriors team, and he didn't win it. That's
I
just one.
like
That's just one person. That's just one finals that I'm talking about.
Iggy. Okay, he won Finals MVP, but like we kind of knew that he really wasn't supposed to win that. Like everybody was
I also have another example. You keep going, but I have an example of another
all
Finals
right.
MVP that I don't know. Like, you know what I mean? Could have went every which way.
All right, so look, right. The consensus was, or at least like at the time, because at that time I was younger, right? So,
Yep.
but
So was I.
Iggy won the Finals MVP because he locked up LeBron James. Locked up LeBron James.
They didn't lock him. They did not
He
lock him.
LeBron James wasn't locked up.
Bro, it was more
That's
LeBron locked himself than like the
like
Iggy
like
locked LeBron. For
first of
sure.
all,
For sure.
Kyrie not there.
That
Kevin
hurt.
Love
Not there.
not there,
He
and LeBron was still putting up crazy numbers.
was going to war with Della Vadova and Tristan Thompson.
So like like back to the with the Celtics, it's like okay, yeah, Iggy won that, right? Hold on, before I really go to the Celtics, Iggy won that, but like I said, he won that because he locked up LeBron James. Like, come on, like I'm sorry, like no, he didn't.
Yeah.
LeBron didn't have a supporting cast. It is what it
Mind you,
was.
that was Steph Curry's first ring too. Same thing as Jason Tatum, his first ring. And their first ring, they're looking at, you know what I mean, somebody else on their team, you know what I mean, getting the finals MVP. You know what I mean?
But that was bogus. Now
Hey,
here we
hey
are,
man.
right? You're the face of the franchise, and we're looking at you like you said Jason Tatum could have won it, Jaylen Brown could have won it, Drew could have won it,
Porzingis.
Kristaps could have won it. If you're the face of my franchise,
Okay.
and well, first off, like if that's true, right?
Mm-hmm.
My team is OD.
Yeah.
But
They was
realistically,
OD. Bro, the Celtics were OD. Like
like
I
my
promise
my
you,
team
like
is
they
OD.
were OD. Other people will not want to admit that, you know what I mean? Because they're like some people are like they can't put their fandom aside and shit. But the Celtics were like that's like one of the
OD.
best teams
But
that we've
like,
probably seen in a while. In a
but let's
while.
be realistic. Let's be realistic. Right. I don't want my franchise player to be in competition with my fourth option on my team for like being in talks of winning finals MVP. Like that, like no, it should be either my franchise player is head and shoulders above the rest,
Mm-hmm.
or like the second best player is like, oh, he's almost there. And I got two things real quick that I want to just throw out there. right? And we don't got to go into detail with it. Just when LeBron won with the Lakers,
Yep.
yo, I'm like in my head, I'm like, it's going to LeBron, but I'm like, yo, AD did pretty good, so I don't know who to go
Right.
to,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
But
Nah, AD
now
put in
you
work
you
for that
said
title. I'm not gonna lie.
right, you said, oh, it could have gone to Drew. Drew is Drew. What Drew was doing for the Celtics, he did for the Bucks.
He did.
But
He brought an
Drew
impact.
wasn't in. He wasn't in talks for winning Finals MVP. Giannis was. It was only Giannis.
True. But
So it's like
to be
if
fair,
I'm gonna hold Jason Tatum to franchise player like Giannis,
yeah.
he should be head and shoulders above the rest. And if not, like Jaylen Brown, be where like a situation where it was LeBron because LeBron's getting older, and then AD played out of his mind where they it's like it could go to either one.
Yeah.
It should be like that where it could go either Jaylen Brown or Jason Tatum, like how it did. But you said it could, Chris Tapps, Drew was like, yo, if you're Jason Tatum, I gotta, you know, it
Okay.
has to be you.
All right. So my turn, right? So to allude to that point that you said about like the Bucks and Celtics, two different teams. The Bucks, you can literally see in that series, aside from Chris Middleton, Giannis, and let's just say Drew, there wasn't really anybody you could really go to for like buckets. You know what I mean? And we know how dominant Giannis is. I'll be the first one to tell you that Giannis is more dominant than Jason Tatum. So you telling me that it's kind of just like I know Giannis is gonna go do that. I know Giannis can go and do that without Drew even being on that team. But I definitely want to go back to what I was saying about Drew Holiday could have got it. But Drew Holiday could have got it because of the impact that he was bringing to the team. Like you have to understand that like when you affect the game on both ends, like you get looked at very different. Now, I get you. Drew Holiday's stats are not like prettier stats than Jason Tatum. You know what I mean? But like when you're on the court and you're that guy that like let's be real, like Drew Holiday, like nobody's hunting out for Drew Holiday. Like they're hunting out for Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. Everybody else, they're like, yo, like I'd rather them kill me than those two kill me. Like let's just keep it a buck. So
Mm-hmm.
you got to look at it also. It's just like with the Bucks, like with their whole system and their whole foundation was just like obviously you're gonna have Chris Middleton feeding off of Giannis, but it's mostly the load is gonna be on Giannis. You know what I mean? And you have to look at the two different teams and how they're being coached and how both teams are even just getting broken down. Like the Celtics had like literally a lineup like 1 through 7 that they could just rely on constantly all year. Like we another one we didn't talk about just because he wasn't in the running for out for Finals MVP, but like Al Horford, like Al Horford's old as hell. Like you know what I mean? Like he's
I
up
don't know
there
if I
in
would have
age,
gone that far
and
to
he's still
Al Horford.
but he's still producing. That's why I brought up Al Horford. He's still producing, and
Hey,
it's
and
because it's
speaking
like
about Horford, let's give him props real quick. The
not
first
fact. The
Dominican
first Dominican got that
NBA
championship.
player
Yep.
to win the chip. Like
And
respect.
I think he had like the most playoff games played without a ring or some shit. No more. No more. He got that ring. But to go back to what I was saying is that like it kind of goes back to my point, or it does go back to my point that I made earlier that the Celtics this year, they were just clicking on all cylinders, bro. Like top to bottom. Like Praying Pritchard. Like that's another one that we're not even talking about. He was playing out of his mind. He was shooting up half court shots and shit, making that shit. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's just like, bro, like the Celtics just had everything going for them this year. So it's just like compared to that Bucks team, like they have way more options on the Celtics now than that Bucks team did then. You know, and to go back to Drew Holiday is just like he's a player that he went to both teams and left an impact with both of those teams because he plays the game the right way. You know what I mean? Another player like Derek White, he plays the game the right way. Earlier, like you know what I mean? Like we were kind of like trolling and stuff, and we were talking about Team USA, but we don't know why he's there. But let's be real, bro, and let's put like all jokes aside and shit. Like we know why. You know, what I mean? Like to be fair,
No,
he did not get called. He was not the first call. He definitely replaced, obviously Kawhi and shit like that. So it's just like it wasn't even like that. But to be fair, I understand there's better players out there. They are. But right now,
we didn't get into that,
like
but like it
it's
could be a different thing.
and he brings that. And he plays the game the right way. You know what I
He
mean? They
does,
both
but
do.
like right, we didn't obviously we didn't get too into detail. We're talking about Team USA, but like
I mean, we can stay on this topic. Like, we can keep
Yeah,
talking
you
about
know
like
what? Talk about a different
like
day.
I understand what you mean that like if you're the best player, you should be the one like always like performing better than everybody else. I understand that point. But what I want you to also look at, the point of view that I want you to look at is that like when you have an actual team that plays like a team, that it's not like we just have to like rely on one person to do it all for us. Like it's different. You know what I mean? And like that takes like the load off of your shoulders. So although it's like, yes, we look at it and we're like, damn, like we wish Jason Tatum was in a position where it's like he could just do it all by himself and shit. But like you have to understand this is like if that's not the cards that he's dealt, then he's just not dealt those cards, bro. Like again, it's like I said earlier, like he's shown you seasons where he could score like more than like 29, 30 plus in a season and stuff and win first team NBA and like, you know, obviously start in the all-star game. I know that's not something to, you know, like brag about and shit like that, but like this is like consistent. You know what I mean? And like at the end of the day, it's just like we're still looking at him and well, not me, but other people are looking at him. They're just like, is he even top seven? Is he even top 10? Like, you know what I mean? It gets disrespectful. Don't get me wrong. And Tatum's low moments are low moments, but other players have low ass moments. You know what I mean? And also to go back to that whole Jaylen Brown winning the Finals MVP, we're also not putting in the context that Jaylen Brown before Jason Tatum got this contract that he just did, he was the highest player, the highest paid player in the NBA. And we know how many people, like how people felt about that. Me personally, I don't think he should have gotten the most money paid, like you know, the largest contract, especially after a season where, to be fair, obviously the Celtics did turn it all around and shit, but they could have easily got swept by the Heat. You know what I mean? And like, don't get me wrong, they made it interesting, went game seven, and obviously Jason Tatum rolled his ankle, and but even that's a clear example. Jason Tatum went out of that game, and we saw like, yo, Jaylen Brown, like this is your time to do something. Oh, people are saying he don't got no left hand. I don't believe that. These are NBA players. They know what the fuck they're doing. They practice basketball all their life. So I'm not gonna sit up here and say he don't got no left. But Jaylen Brown, before this year, he was put in a lot of moments where it's like, yo, go show us that you're better than Jason Tatum. Go show us that you could go and score the same on the same level as Jason Tatum. Like Brown hasn't even put up like a 30 plus point season yet. You know what I mean? And granted, like I say yet because I'm not gonna put it past him that he can't go to another team to do it. You know what I mean? But like let's put the context and let's just be real. Like Jaylen Brown, he had pressure on him. Like the Celtics as a team had pressure on them to deliver and win that championship. But bro, like Jaylen Brown had pressure on himself. And Jason Tatum, let's be real, he's always gonna have pressure. Like he can't hide from the pressure no more. He's done. Like it's done for that. Like it's done for that.
Mm-hmm.
It's done for that. If bro, like literally, like it's gotten to a point where like bro, like they criticize him if he doesn't clap enough for his teammates and shit like that. Like come on, bro. Like it's like any little thing to like knock him for. And I feel like that's whack. Like I'm not gonna lie, that is whack to me. But
Yeah,
I'm
that's
not
what
only
comes with being
saying
the
that
franchise player. LeBron coming in, they every little
now.
small thing,
LeBron is one
every
of the
little small
main
thing, they try
players
to
in the
pick at
league
him.
still to this day that gets scrutinized. You know what I mean? We could talk about it the next pod episode and stuff. But like we know that there's people out there that don't even believe that LeBron's top five, and LeBron is a
Well,
dog, like literally a dog, like bro,
not
like
not let
LeBron is like
alone not top
like
five, let alone
LeBron's
even top
ages.
10. They don't
It's like
even
he just keeps like you know what I mean, finding a way to like remain in the league and stay relevant, and you know what I mean. Like older players, like before then, like they would just start fading off. He doesn't feel like he's fading off. Like don't get
yo,
me wrong, 5 years ago, I was one of those I was one of those people that were like over here like 5 more years. And now 5 more years, I mean 5 years later, I'm over here like, yo, this dude could literally keep playing. Like he could just keep playing and he doesn't need to stop. And you look at it and it's like he's already the all-time leading scorer. Like he could just keep pushing he could just keep pushing the bar, bro. Like you know what I mean? But it's just like I love that for him because as somebody as I'm not gonna lie, like I used to hate on Brown. Like I'm a Knicks fan, bro. Like bro, like this shit get real. Like, you know what I mean? Like this shit gets real. Like nobody wanted to see like Melo beat Braun more than me, bro. I swear to God. But like, bro, like I've went from hating him to literally like respecting him, bro, because you know what I mean? Like he's still doing this shit. But again, Jason Tatum is
that's
26,
my goal. That's my
bro,
goal.
like my boy is chilling. Like, you know what I mean? Like, again, it's like I told you earlier, like he could have a Steph run like later on in his years. Like you don't know when Tatum's 30 and they're saying, yo, he's washed, he can't do shit, and then boom, he comes out and does something crazy. But To allude to the Finals MVP that I was talking about earlier, was you remember when they said that Kawhi locked up LeBron? And I remember looking at LeBron's stats, and they look beautiful. They look beautiful. Don't get me wrong. LeBron caught cramps one game and shit, and you know what I mean. And you know he come back to the game and but like, bro, like let's like come on, like you could have said like, yo, Tim Duncan could have got it. Like there was moments where Tony Parker was
I
delivering.
mean,
Manu
you know,
Ginobili, like
there's that
bro,
saying, there's
and
that
they beat
saying
them in
where,
5 games. You know how hard it is to beat the big three in 5 games, bro? They beat
yeah,
them in
but like,
five. Like they got them out of it. Like
to
they
be
got them
fair
out of
to,
it.
to be fair, you can't. It's LeBron James we're talking about. You can't lock up LeBron James.
That's
But
what
like,
I'm saying.
there's that saying that
You make it harder for him. Don't
you
get me wrong, Kawhi can
can't
make it hard for him, but like,
lock
come on,
somebody up. You could just only hope
like contain him.
to contain them.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I feel
So
you.
like,
Yeah, facts.
but I mean, like you said, some people feel like LeBron's not even top five. There's other people who feel like he's not even top 10 anymore. And like,
Ridiculous, ridiculous, bro. Like literally ridiculous.
but
Like
who I feel like isn't top 10. And no, I mean, and like I got like I'm not gonna lie to you, I'm gonna have to sit there and count the people who I feel like are in the top 10. But and no, I feel like Devin Booker is in the top 10, but not Donovan Mitchell. And you feel like Donovan
yep,
Mitchell is a better player
yep,
than Devin Booker,
yep,
but
yep. I do, I do.
how can somebody be better than somebody else when like in the consensus like he's not even considered a top 10 player over somebody else?
I mean, to be fair, I don't think I've never been on the record to say, oh, Donovan Mitchell is a top 10 player. But to allude to the fact of Donovan Mitchell and Devin Booker, I do feel like Donovan Mitchell is better than Devin Booker. Now,
Okay.
I definitely would
All
not
right,
sit
now
up here and be like,
real
it's
quick, right?
clear.
To
Wait, wait,
not
wait.
to not
I'm
go
not going to
deep.
sit up here and say like it's
Just
clear
say like
cut
two
and shit
things
like that,
why,
but
real
it's a
quick.
debate. It's a debate.
Just like real quick, just like off the top of your head. Like don't even go in like too deep into it. One or two things why you feel like Donovan Mitchell has a case of being better than
Okay.
Devin Booker.
So it's perfect because I have my notes here. So I feel like Donovan Mitchell's athleticism is better, and that his tenacity on defense is better than Devin Booker's too. And the reason that I feel like those are two very, very important things is because yes, we live in a world where everybody wants to just chuck up threes, everybody wants to take the shot creating shots, take difficult shots, and like let that be everything. But Donovan Mitchell, he has like a second gear that he could turn into. Now, I can't sit up here and depict how much Donovan Mitchell you watch compared to Devin Booker, but
Mm-hmm.
I've seen Devin Booker check out of games simply because a teammate of his might get scored on. And he's over here, like, you know what I mean, throwing the ball at the teammate, making him hurry up to inbounds the ball, coming off as a dickhead. Because, and there's multiple times that Donovan Mitchell, Devin Booker, his defense is not matching his scoring.
I
Like
see it. I didn't say
it's
let's talk about
not matching his scoring at
uh,
all. Like
we could talk about it.
no. I've seen him drop 50 plus, 60 plus, and literally like, where the fuck is his defense? Literally, like, bro, he's not even trying sometimes, bro. He's not even trying, bro. And that's just one thing. Athleticism, I feel like that takes you a long way when it comes down to longevity. I feel like if you're not like a freak of nature
Mm,
that you just land like Zion and shit, and like no, like Donovan Mitchell don't do that. Donovan Mitchell gets up and down the floor. He gets his deflections. He gets his steals. He's not scared to guard the best player on the team. And
I
then
mean,
on
you don't
top of
have to
that,
be an athlete to go far into
I've
like
seen
having a
Devin
good
Booker
career.
duck. I've seen Devin Booker duck matchups. I've seen him duck.
That's okay. But look,
Seen him duck.
that
And Donovan
just
Mitchell
real
is
quick,
six.
just to like
Donovan
just
Mitchell is six
to
two. Donovan Mitchell is not 6'6" like Devin Booker is, bro. Like, let's be real, bro.
real quick,
Let's see
right?
who. Like, come on, bro. And like, yo, like you know how I feel about this topic, bro. And I fuck with Booker, bro. But too many times it's been like kind of like yo, like we just gotta take Booker. Like, no, we don't, bro. Like he scores, but we were literally talking about this yesterday. Like they both averaged like 27 points this year. And let's be real. Okay, you brought up the point that He plays a KD
Gang, gang.
and Beal.
You going too deep.
Like,
It's supposed to
come
be real
on, bro.
quick.
Nah, cause I dead ass get hot because of this shit,
I
bro.
know, gang, but we gotta
But
save
I'm
it
gonna
for
leave it
the
at
end.
that. You told me tell you two things, and I told you his defensive tenacity and his athleticism. I feel is better than Devin Booker. And like,
All right.
bro, if you want to get into scoring, we could do this shit all
We could talk
day.
about it because
You want to talk about the scenarios that they're in and the situations that they're in? We could talk about that, bro. Like we really could. And it's just like, bro, that's just how I feel, bro. But you
all
got the
right. So
floor.
look,
You can tell me why you feel like Devin Booker is
I'm
better
gonna
and
get
shit.
into that.
Go
I'm
ahead.
gonna get into that in the next episode. But like, so boom,
For it. I'm for it.
um,
I'm here
that
for it,
was
bro. I'm
that
here
was the
for the talk.
first. Yep, first episode. My boy Darwin,
Nah, we cooked. We cooked, boy. We cooked.
right?
All right. First time doing this shit. This is our first time doing this shit. Like, first time. Come on.